Ladies and gentlemen, success is not merely a matter of desire or wishful thinking. It is the result of deliberate choices and the avoidance of habits that undermine our potential. The very first habit successful individuals shun is procrastination. They understand that delay is the enemy of progress. The moment an opportunity presents itself, they act with unwavering determination, knowing that hesitation often leads to failure. Next, they reject the corrosive power of negative thoughts. A mind clouded with doubt and fear is fertile ground for defeat. Instead, they nourish their minds with faith, optimism, and the certainty that every obstacle contains a seed of opportunity. This positive mental attitude is the cornerstone of their achievements. Successful people also guard their time fiercely. They do not allow distractions or trivial pursuits to steal their focus from their definite chief aim. They comprehend that mastery of concentration is the key that unlocks the door to riches and fulfillment. Furthermore, these individuals refuse to indulge in the habit of complaining or blaming external circumstances for their misfortunes. They take full responsibility for their lives and understand that control over their reactions is the true source of power. Lastly, successful people reject the allure of instant gratification. They recognize that true success requires patience, discipline, and a willingness to sacrifice short-term pleasures for long-term gain. By cultivating these habits and eliminating those that hinder progress, they carve a path to enduring success. Remember, it is not just what you do, but what you refuse to do that shapes your destiny. Avoid these habits, and you place yourself firmly on the road to achievement. Ladies and gentlemen, when we consider the fabric of success, one habit stands out as a silent assassin of dreams: procrastination. It is a thief that steals time, energy, and opportunity without the victim even realizing it until the damage is done. The successful understand this well. They know that the moment an idea or an opportunity presents itself, hesitation can be fatal. Procrastination, in all its forms, delays the birth of action, and action is the very heartbeat of achievement. To procrastinate is to defer the most important work, pushing it aside for a later time that often never arrives. It is a trap that breeds complacency, allowing fear, doubt, and uncertainty to gather strength in the shadows. Those who procrastinate feed a dangerous illusion that time is abundant, and that tomorrow will offer a better chance to begin. But the truth is, time is fleeting, and the present moment is all we ever truly possess. The successful do not wait for perfect conditions to begin their journey. They understand that conditions are rarely perfect, and that waiting for such perfection is the surest way to remain stagnant. The essence of success lies in decisive action taken immediately. It is in the willingness to step forward, even in the face of uncertainty, that the seeds of progress are sown. This is not recklessness, but a calculated courage, a belief that movement, no matter how small, creates momentum. There is a profound difference between those who act promptly and those who delay. Action produces results. Delay produces doubt, anxiety, and missed opportunities. When you act immediately, you harness the power of momentum. Every step forward builds confidence and clarity, making the next step easier and more assured. This chain reaction of small actions leads inevitably toward the achievement of great goals. Successful individuals have learned to recognize the subtle whispers of procrastination. It often disguises itself in tempting forms: the desire to wait for more information, the urge to feel more prepared, or the need to rest before the challenge begins. These are mere excuses dressed in noble garments. The truth is that preparation and rest are important, but they must not become barriers to immediate action. The first step taken today lays the foundation for all future progress. Moreover, the successful are keenly aware that procrastination is often fueled by fear. Fear of failure, fear of criticism, and fear of the unknown all conspire to keep us immobilized. But successful people do not let fear dictate their actions. Instead, they confront it head on, knowing that courage is not the absence of fear, but the mastery of it. They understand that fear will diminish when met with action, and that by moving forward, they dispel the shadows that hold them back. It is important to recognize that procrastination also breeds indecision. The more we delay, the more complicated the decision appears. Problems grow larger in our minds as time passes, and what seemed manageable in the moment becomes overwhelming. This paralysis by analysis creates a vicious cycle where the fear of making the wrong choice leads to inaction, which in turn increases anxiety and uncertainty. Successful people break this cycle by making decisions quickly and adjusting as they go. They accept that mistakes may happen, but understand that inaction guarantees failure. The concept of taking immediate action is also deeply tied to personal responsibility. Successful people do not wait for others to push them or for circumstances to improve. They seize control of their own destiny by committing to act now. This habit empowers them with a sense of ownership over their lives, eliminating the victim mentality that often accompanies procrastination. Another crucial aspect is the understanding that every great achievement begins with a single step. The mountain seems insurmountable when viewed from the base, but it is climbed one step at a time. Successful people do not attempt to leap to the summit in one bound. Instead, they take consistent, deliberate action every day, no matter how small. These incremental steps accumulate, creating unstoppable momentum. This is only possible when procrastination is avoided and action becomes a daily practice. In practical terms, avoiding procrastination means cultivating discipline and creating systems that encourage immediate action. Successful people often plan their day the night before, prioritizing the most important tasks and committing to starting them first thing in the morning. They break large tasks into smaller, manageable pieces to reduce the temptation to delay. They hold themselves accountable, often sharing goals with trusted partners or mentors who ensure they stay on track. Furthermore, successful individuals recognize the power of habit in overcoming procrastination. Action becomes easier when it is habitual. By establishing routines and rituals, they create an environment where progress is inevitable. For example, setting a fixed time to begin work each day removes the question of when to start, replacing it with automatic action. This habit of promptness in beginning work builds self-confidence and reduces the mental resistance that leads to delay. The role of self-awareness cannot be overstated in this context. Successful people monitor their own behavior carefully, identifying when procrastination attempts to creep in. They learn to detect the signs early, whether it is distraction, justification, or avoidance, and intervene immediately. This proactive approach to self-management allows them to maintain steady progress, even when motivation wanes. Procrastination also often stems from a lack of clear goals. When the destination is vague or undefined, it is easy to lose direction and postpone action. Successful people invest time in defining their definite chief aim, an unmistakable purpose that guides every decision and action. With a clear target, hesitation fades and action flows naturally because the goal itself ignites passion and focus. In conclusion, the avoidance of procrastination is one of the most powerful habits a person can cultivate on the road to success. The ability to act promptly, decisively, and consistently is what separates those who achieve their dreams from those who watch their opportunities slip away. Every moment spent delaying is a moment lost forever, and in the economy of success, time is the most valuable currency. To embrace immediate action is to claim your power, conquer fear, and set yourself on an unstoppable path to greatness. Ladies and gentlemen, the power of the mind is the foundation upon which all success is built, and the habit of negative thinking is its most destructive enemy. Successful people understand this truth deeply. The quality of their thoughts directly shapes the quality of their lives. They avoid the trap of negative thinking because they know it is a silent killer of ambition, energy, and progress. Negative thinking breeds doubt, fear, and hesitation. It clouds judgment and saps the will to act. When the mind dwells on impossibilities, setbacks, and failures, it creates a barrier that blocks the path to achievement. Successful individuals recognize that negativity is a choice, one that can be rejected with conscious effort. They cultivate a positive mental attitude as the fertile soil in which success can take root and flourish. The law of attraction, as some might call it, dictates that what you focus on expands. If your thoughts are consumed with worry, lack, or defeat, you attract more of the same. Conversely, by focusing on possibilities, abundance, and success, you magnetize the circumstances and people that will help bring those visions to life. This is not mere optimism, but a practical law of cause and effect grounded in the principles of the mind. Successful people are vigilant against the creeping influence of negative thoughts. They understand that the mind is like a garden, and every thought is a seed. If left unattended, weeds of doubt and despair will overrun the garden and choke out the flowers of faith and hope. Therefore, they consciously plant and nurture seeds of encouragement, confidence, and resilience. They surround themselves with uplifting influences, whether through books, conversations, or environments that foster growth. This practice is not about ignoring reality or pretending that difficulties do not exist. Rather, it is about framing challenges as opportunities for learning and growth. When faced with obstacles, successful people do not say, "Why me?" Instead, they ask, "What can I learn? How can I overcome?" This shift in perspective transforms adversity into a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block. Another reason successful people avoid negative thinking is because it drains energy and focus. The mind consumed by worry cannot direct its full power toward creative solutions or productive action. It becomes fragmented and weak. In contrast, a positive mindset concentrates energy on what can be done, fueling persistence and innovation. It is the mental equivalent of a well-tuned engine that drives forward without hesitation. Successful individuals also recognize that negative thoughts often arise from fear of failure, rejection, or the unknown. Yet they do not allow fear to dictate their inner dialogue. Instead, they meet fear with faith, understanding that the greatest achievements often lie just beyond the boundaries of comfort. By replacing fear-based thoughts with faith-based ones, they break the chains that hold so many back. The habit of positive thinking requires discipline. It is not an automatic process, but a skill developed through constant practice. Successful people train their minds through affirmations, visualization, and focused attention on their goals. They are aware of their thought patterns and interrupt negativity before it gains momentum. This mental vigilance is a hallmark of success. Furthermore, successful individuals avoid the company of those who perpetuate negativity. They understand the contagious nature of attitudes and emotions. Being around pessimistic or doubtful individuals can infect the mind with limiting beliefs. Therefore, they choose their associations wisely, seeking out those who inspire, challenge, and elevate their thinking. It is also important to note that successful people embrace gratitude as an antidote to negativity. Gratitude shifts focus from what is lacking to what is abundant. It cultivates contentment and joy, which in turn fuel motivation and creativity. By regularly acknowledging their blessings and progress, successful individuals maintain a positive emotional climate that supports their ambitions. In essence, the avoidance of negative thinking is not merely a personal preference, but a strategic decision. It protects the mind's energy, maintains clarity of purpose, and keeps the individual aligned with the laws of success. Every thought carries power, and by choosing thoughts that serve their goals, successful people harness an invisible force that propels them forward. Ultimately, the habit of maintaining a positive mental attitude is one of the most reliable predictors of success. It acts as a shield against discouragement and a magnet for opportunity. By refusing to entertain negative thoughts, successful people create a mental environment where creativity, confidence, and courage can thrive. This habit transforms ordinary efforts into extraordinary achievements. Ladies and gentlemen, Focus is the compass that directs all efforts toward meaningful achievement. And successful people understand that distractions are the greatest enemies of progress. The habit of allowing oneself to be pulled in multiple directions, chasing every new shiny object or succumbing to constant interruptions, is a sure way to scatter energy and dilute results. Those who succeed learn early that to accomplish anything of value, they must guard their attention fiercely and channel it toward their definite chief aim. Distractions come in many forms: endless emails, social media notifications, trivial conversations, and countless other demands on time and energy that seem urgent but rarely move us closer to our goals. Successful individuals recognize that indulging these distractions is akin to pouring water into a leaking bucket. No matter how much effort is exerted, without focus, progress is lost. The difference lies in the understanding that time and attention are finite resources. To spend them unwisely is to sabotage the very efforts that build success. Instead, the successful cultivate the discipline to say no to distractions, preserving their mental clarity and energy for tasks that matter most. They create environments and routines that minimize interruptions and protect blocks of time for concentrated work. Moreover, these individuals define a clear and compelling definite chief aim, a singular purpose so powerful and precise that it commands their full attention. This clarity acts like a magnetic force, drawing their focus away from diversions and toward productive action. When the goal is vivid and emotionally charged, distractions lose their appeal because they pale in comparison to the burning desire for achievement. Another aspect of avoiding distractions is mastering the art of prioritization. Successful people distinguish between what is urgent and what is important. They refuse to be enslaved by the tyranny of the urgent, which often pulls attention away from strategic activities that yield lasting results. By focusing on high-value tasks, they ensure that their efforts produce maximum impact. Distraction also breeds frustration and burnout. When energy is constantly split among many competing demands, the mind becomes exhausted and the quality of work suffers. Successful individuals are aware that sustained focus leads to flow, a state of deep engagement where productivity and creativity soar. Protecting this flow state requires vigilance against anything that interrupts concentration. Furthermore, successful people harness technology as a tool rather than a source of distraction. They set boundaries around their use of devices and digital platforms, turning off notifications, scheduling specific times for checking messages, and avoiding multitasking. This intentional management of technology prevents the constant barrage of interruptions that can derail progress. The ability to avoid distractions is also linked to strong self-discipline. It requires saying no to immediate temptations, whether it's browsing the internet, engaging in gossip, or other low-value activities that do not align with one's goals. Successful people train themselves to resist these impulses, understanding that each no builds the muscle of willpower and brings them closer to their ambitions. Additionally, successful individuals often practice the habit of focused work sessions, periods dedicated exclusively to one task without interruption. This method, sometimes called time blocking or deep work, maximizes efficiency and effectiveness. During these sessions, all potential distractions are eliminated, allowing the mind to immerse fully in the work at hand. A key part of this focus is the ability to manage external influences. Successful people create boundaries in their personal and professional lives to protect their time and energy. They communicate clearly with others about their priorities and availability, ensuring that interruptions are minimized and that they can maintain momentum on their most important work. It is also important to recognize that distractions often arise from a restless mind or lack of clear direction. Successful people address this by setting daily intentions, reviewing their goals regularly, and keeping their definite chief aim front and center. This continuous alignment keeps the mind anchored and resistant to wandering attention. Ultimately, the habit of avoiding distractions is not just about managing time, but about managing oneself. It requires self-awareness, discipline, and a relentless commitment to one's purpose. Successful individuals know that every moment wasted on distraction is a moment lost forever, and they guard their focus as the most precious asset they possess. By mastering the art of concentration and eliminating distractions, they create the conditions necessary for extraordinary achievement. Their focused efforts compound over time, producing results far greater than sporadic bursts of activity. This habit transforms potential energy into realized success and separates the accomplished from the merely busy. Ladies and gentlemen, taking full responsibility for one's life is the hallmark of every successful person, and the habit they avoid most rigorously is that of complaining or blaming others for their circumstances. When challenges arise, as they inevitably do, it is far easier to point fingers, to find external reasons for setbacks, and to surrender one's power by attributing failure to forces beyond control. Yet, successful individuals refuse to fall into this trap because they understand that blame is a cage that imprisons the mind and stunts growth. The habit of complaining or blaming creates a victim mentality, a state of mind where one believes that success or failure is dictated by luck, other people, or unfair circumstances. This mentality is destructive because it shifts focus away from solutions and toward excuses. It encourages passivity and helplessness rather than action and empowerment. Successful people recognize that the moment they blame someone or something else, they surrender control over their future. Taking full responsibility means embracing the reality that every outcome in life is ultimately the result of one's own decisions, actions, and attitudes. Even when external events are unfavorable, successful individuals seek what lesson can be learned and what adjustments can be made. They view setbacks not as punishments but as feedback, valuable information that guides them toward improvement. This habit of ownership fosters resilience. Instead of wasting energy on complaining, successful people conserve their strength for problem solving and forward movement. They ask, "What can I do now to change this situation?" rather than "Who is to blame?" This shift in focus from blame to action is what empowers them to overcome obstacles that would defeat others. Complaining also breeds negativity and dissatisfaction, which cloud the mind and drain motivation. It becomes a self-reinforcing cycle, where the more one complains, the less capable one feels of creating change. Successful individuals break this cycle by maintaining a mindset of gratitude and possibility. They acknowledge their challenges but refuse to be defined or limited by them. Moreover, those who avoid blame cultivate self-awareness and humility. They accept their mistakes openly and take responsibility for correcting them. This honesty is not a sign of weakness, but a demonstration of strength and maturity. It allows them to grow continuously, build trust with others, and maintain integrity. The habit of blaming others often masks fear, fear of failure, fear of criticism, or fear of admitting fault. Successful people confront these fears directly. They understand that admitting responsibility is the first step to mastery and control. By owning their actions, they reclaim their power and set the stage for success. Furthermore, successful individuals recognize the importance of accountability. They hold themselves answerable for their goals and progress. They do not wait for others to motivate or direct them, but create internal standards and disciplines that drive consistent effort. This self-accountability ensures that their actions align with their ambitions. Avoiding the habit of complaining and blaming also improves relationships. Successful people know that constant negativity repels allies and collaborators. Instead, by taking responsibility and maintaining a constructive attitude, they inspire confidence and attract support. Their demeanor creates an environment where cooperation and mutual respect flourish. Ultimately, the decision to reject complaints and blame is a declaration of sovereignty over one's life. It is the recognition that while circumstances cannot always be controlled, one's response can be. Success is born in the soil of responsibility, watered by determination and nurtured by perseverance. Those who refuse to blame others empower themselves to shape their destiny, no matter the obstacles they face. Ladies and gentlemen, the path to true success is paved with discipline and delayed gratification, and successful people avoid the habit of seeking instant pleasure at the expense of long-term gain. In a world that increasingly values speed and immediate rewards, this avoidance is both countercultural and essential. Those who achieve greatness understand that lasting success requires patience, sacrifice, and a willingness to forego short-term comforts in pursuit of a higher goal. Instant gratification tempts the mind with the allure of quick fixes and easy pleasures. It whispers promises of satisfaction if only we yield to its call right now, yet these fleeting pleasures come at a cost. They divert energy and attention from meaningful work, fragment focus, and create patterns of dependency that erode willpower. Successful individuals know that succumbing to these temptations is like digging a hole when they should be building a foundation. Instead, they cultivate the habit of self-control, training themselves to say no to distractions and indulgences that do not serve their ultimate purpose. This discipline is not about denial for its own sake, but about making conscious choices that align with their definite chief aim. They recognize that every moment spent in discipline compounds over time, producing results that far outweigh the momentary satisfaction of indulgence. Successful people also embrace the concept of sacrifice as a necessary step toward achievement. They understand that to reach a summit, one must often leave behind the comforts of the valley. This may mean investing long hours, missing social pleasures, or enduring discomfort and uncertainty. But they accept these sacrifices with faith in the greater reward that awaits. This mindset transforms sacrifice from burden to privilege, a price gladly paid for the prize of success. The power of delayed gratification is also evident in financial discipline. Rather than spending impulsively, successful individuals save and invest with patience, allowing wealth to grow steadily over time. They reject the temptation of quick gains or risky shortcuts, knowing that true prosperity is built gradually through consistent effort and wise decisions. Moreover, the avoidance of instant gratification strengthens resilience. When faced with challenges or setbacks, those who have developed this habit do not crumble under pressure or seek easy escapes. Instead, they persist with focus and determination, confident that endurance today leads to triumph tomorrow. This inner strength becomes a powerful asset in navigating the inevitable ups and downs on the journey to success. Successful people also harness the power of vision to resist short-term temptations. Their clear and compelling definite chief aim acts as a guiding light, reminding them of the value of patience and the importance of each disciplined choice. This vision fuels motivation and keeps them aligned with their long-term objectives, making it easier to say no to immediate pleasures that threaten to derail their progress. Furthermore, they build routines and systems that support disciplined behavior. By creating habits that automatically favor long-term goals, such as regular work schedules, healthy lifestyles, and continuous learning, they reduce the mental burden of choice and increase the likelihood of sustained effort. These structures help prevent the slip into impulsive gratification-seeking behavior. It is important to note that the ability to delay gratification is not innate for most. It is a skill honed over time through conscious effort. Successful individuals practice this skill daily, strengthening their willpower and expanding their capacity to endure discomfort in pursuit of their dreams. This ongoing practice creates a mental toughness that separates achievers from the rest. Ultimately, the rejection of instant gratification is a declaration of faith in the future and confidence in oneself. It is an acknowledgment that true success is not an event but a process, one that rewards those who patiently build, persevere, and keep their eyes fixed on the prize ahead. By mastering this habit, successful people ensure that their efforts produce lasting value, transforming fleeting desires into enduring achievement.